opportunity to understand some of the issues that are going on, to help you as board members understand. I know that you've been brought up to speed by our Dean, Janet McIntyre, by Larkin, and so I would like Larkin in many ways to address you, but to also help many members of our community understand some of the issues. So Larkin, thank you for making this brief presentation.
Board Chair, board members, Dr. Ski, Dr. Hay. Yes, it's been brought to my attention through lots and lots of different blogs, Facebooks, and many of the media that I don't necessarily visit all the time, about some things being said about our music discipline courses. One of the things that we have to be very careful in the Office of Instruction, which is what I represent, is that we are responsible for reporting to the state, our CCWD, and Department of Education, and our joint boards of education, our agreements that we have. So many people think of a program as anything that we offer at Mount Hood Community College. And also we refer to, as I've said before, financial aid as a program or admissions as a program. But to the state, programs are our AAS degrees, our Associate of Applied Sciences, our certificates, and our career pathways. Those are what are the OARs, our Oregon Administrative Regulations, call programs. Those, so at Mount Hood we have career technical degrees, such as the ones that Wayne talked about, the new AAS degrees. For our lower division transfer courses, and music is one of those lower division transfer courses, to the state they're not considered necessarily a program, even though everyone will refer to them as a program. They are actually lower division transfer, and when they are used as part of an articulation agreement, they are considered a transfer degree. At a community college, we offer 4 transfer degrees. The Associate of Arts Oregon Transfer, that's our largest, AAOT. The Associate of General Studies, the AGS. The Associate of Science, AS degree. And the Associate of Science Oregon Transfer Business. Any of our lower division transfer courses fit into one of those degrees. One of the 3 degrees, because business, of course, is the business degree. But they fit into it as either an elective or as a distribution or as a major course. A student who is interested in music at Mount Hood Community College would take music electives, music courses, as part of one of those 3 degrees, AGS, AAOT, or AS. When they graduate, they're transcripted as AS, AAOT, or AGS, because the state does not allow us with lower division transfer courses to do emphasis in anything other than those basic degrees. So it's very difficult for us to even know how many of our students take music classes here and transfer on to a 4-year university to get a music degree, because the state doesn't allow a community college to recognize, at this time, a music degree or music program. We also, several years ago, started working very hard with all of our faculty regarding articulation agreements, or those transfer agreements. Because many of our lower division transfer courses that we use for them to be used as general education have to meet certain requirements. In other words, we have to get letters of transferability that allow one course, like Music 101, to transfer to the University of Oregon or Portland State as Music 101 or Music 111, however they have it numbered. And that is really important to us so that we know that our students who take a particular course here, it transfers and counts, because as I've continued to always tell students when they've talked to me about advising, you can take anything and it'll be transcribed at a four-year university. What we want it to do is count towards your degree so that you're not taking extra credits, which would cost a lot of extra money. So we decided, and the state actually helped us decide this, that anything that we publish in our catalog must meet their standards. And that means for like our AAS degrees or certificates or career pathways, they have to be approved by the state before we can put them into our catalog. We do our catalog almost a year before it's produced, so we're always working very much ahead of the curve, and sometimes it makes it harder for people like Wayne to develop a program and get it into the catalog through the approval process, etc. With articulations, we can do articulations or these transfer degrees with our four-year universities at any time. But we're not publishing those degrees unless we have signed articulation agreements with those partners. Because we have had students who have taken courses at Mount Hood, then they go to a four-year university and they contact us saying, this didn't count, how come this isn't counting? I thought it was going to count. So we want to make sure that anything that we publish in our catalog, we can account for. We have a signed agreement with the school. And that's why we are no longer publishing in the catalog emphasis in an AGS with an emphasis in music, for example, unless we have an agreement with a four-year university. And it only takes one, but with a four-year university, so that we can guarantee to students that what we're publishing really does mean something and does transfer. So I'm hoping that this helps some understand that this whole idea of curriculum is quite complicated. I love it. But it is something that we have to be accountable to the state, and we also have to, and most importantly, be accountable to our students.
Okay. Larkin, does the lower division collegiate transfer book still exist?
Well, I'm not familiar with that, so.
It was a CCWD put it out one time. It had all the, what they call acceptable transfer classes, and very traditional, by the way, what math classes transferred, what writing classes transferred, what, and some of your psych sequence, your ethics, or your philosophy sequence. Is that still existing?
It's not a handbook. It's not printed anymore. They have some electronic versions called Atlas, and also colleges like Portland State have used I'm forgetting, U-Select, so it does comparison of courses. We find though that they're only as good as how updated that they're kept, and the registrars between the different schools talk to one another and create the list. So I believe in David's area, like Aracro, I'm not sure of anyway, the registrars group in the state keeps a pretty firm list of things that are transferable.
The other thing is that who or where are the articulation agreements held? I mean, in what office? And is that an office of instruction?
It is. We hold all of the original documents, signed documents. And basically, an articulation agreement is generally signed at the university level by a provost, by the department chair, and by the registrar. The registrar is very involved in these agreements. At a community college, they're signed by the dean and the vice president of student success and enrollment management and the vice president of instruction. There are 2 original copies done. One stays at the university and one stays in the Office of Instruction here.
Oh, yeah, because when I was doing the education program, I had 4 articulation agreements. Each one of them different, by the way, because each year
Absolutely.
two were state universities, Western and Eastern, and 2 were private, University of Portland and Concordia. But they were held, at that time, the articulation agreement was within the division and was the responsibility of the dean and the instructor. And that's not the case anymore. They come to your office.
Actually, copies of them, because I've done lots and lots of articulations as a faculty member myself, we had copies of it because it has to, faculty must work on these. It has to be a faculty member at Mount Hood who would work with a faculty member at the 4-year university, because those are the only people who could determine if the course meets the outcomes, etc. And they're going to make the recommendations. So it's faculty to faculty. They will have a copy of it. They'll be instrumental in the development of that. But an articulation isn't just like it isn't just the geography classes or the education classes. It's also all of the general education classes and all of the electives. So we have to make sure, for example, in the AAOT that there are 12 humanities, 12 credits of humanities, 12 credits of social sciences, and 12 credits of math science and computer science. So it's the discipline faculty, but also that's why the Office of Instruction gets more involved, because we're making sure that everything is transferable.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, Deb?
I was just curious, how often are these classes checked to make sure that they're still okay in the program?
And by the way, I didn't mention, all of the music classes are still being offered at Mount Hood. They're still in the catalog, they're still in the schedule, and we, as soon as we have some articulation, we're completed with transfer agreements, we will be delighted to post that agreement and the catalog page electronically. And we can do that at any time with an articulation of the lower division transfer. Regarding those courses, oftentimes we hear from the 4-year universities that we need to change our courses to meet their requirements. This happened recently in journalism, where Bob Watkins started working with his colleagues because they did a redesign at the University of Oregon with a journalism transfer. So they'll let us know what's going on. Sometimes they don't. So we actually have a 3-year review cycle where every 3 years, every course is to be reviewed at the college. We also, in the curriculum world, and with curriculum committee, we review our general education courses also on an annual basis. This is usually an internal audit, so that we're checking to make sure that they are transferable.
How long does it take, Larkin? Like you said, they just came up with this or whatever. Does it take 2 months or a year or what to go through this?
Well, it all depends. I have to say that we need the 4-year universities more than they need us. And so we're often eager and willing to participate. The 4-year universities sometimes will take a lot longer. I worked on one articulation for 4 years. I've worked on several where I have never gotten an articulation. So it does depend. And I've also worked on articulation where it was fine for 1 year and then they changed everything. They being a university changed from a 2nd year course, and Wayne knows this also, to a 3rd year course, so it no longer counted. We couldn't count it towards the degree because they raised it to a junior level status, and we can't offer junior level status courses. So the good news, though, I think, is that there is a House bill that was recently passed that is requiring us to work together to build better transferability opportunities for our students and not create those barriers.
Any other questions? Bob? Still with us?
No.
Okay. Skating, still your report.
And that concludes my report. Thank you, Larkin, very much for that report.
I have